Welcome to the Den, the Dingus Den.
Welcome to the Dingus Den for a brand new episode of the Comic Club, where I'm joined by John from Nerd Reactor. How are you doing tonight?
Doing good.
That's
Can't wait to talk about Aquaman.
Aquaman, right? The lovable fish of the seas. Anyway, so
Yeah.
we're here to talk about the first two issues of the Rebirth Aquaman. Rebirth is what came right after New 52. The same sort of continuity that the comics is still connected to, even though they have done like a couple, like I guess, universe rebrands since then. But this is sort of like the beginning of what the modern Aquaman is. One of those that's known to be a good jumping on place for Aquaman. And these first two issues in particular do cover a good bit of Aquaman and Black Manta, which relates directly to the movie that we're getting very soon. Aquaman 2, what was it? In the Lost Kingdom, something like that.
Yeah, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, I think.
Yeah.
It's a long title.
It's something. But no. But we'll be talking about that a little later on. But here we have the first two issues of Aquaman Rebirth. I guess before we get into talking about these individual issues, is there anything that you want to bring up? Any thoughts on this that you want to talk about before we get into
On
it?
the issue, I guess, before reading it, it's like, I wonder what this is going to be about and how much of Black Manta is going to be in it. And it's a short issue that we just can talk about once we start talking about the first issue. So I'm ready to go.
Let's get into this. Before we get into the story, though, shout out to all the talent that's worked on this. We have industry, I guess, veteran. He's done a good bit of stuff. Dan Abnett. He's actually written the just Guardians of the Galaxy run. It's like my personal favorite run of Guardians of the Galaxy that he's written. If you've played the Square Enix Guardians game that came out, his Guardian story, a lot of the story beats of that game was taken from his run of Guardians of the Galaxy, and so that was something I really enjoyed of his. And he's done several other things as well. So awesome to have him writing this, as well as to all the wonderful people that's worked on the art here, such as Brad Walker doing the pencils, Andrew Hennessy doing the inking, and Gabe Eltabe doing the coloring. And so all wonderful work there. But let's go ahead and get right into the story called The Drowning Part 1, where it begins in this morning in Amnesty Bay, Massachusetts, where Aquaman and Mera, they're just awake, enjoying this view from the lighthouse. They have this conversation where Aquaman's talking about where he has this dream of a bridge to bring the people of the land and sea together, right? Because he's half like Atlantean, half human, right? And so
land dweller,
as they call them,
filthy land dwellers,
right? And so, but anyway, there's all this like distrust between them that they talk about. Specifically with the land dwellers against the people of the sea due to the past wars, such as like Orm, Aquaman's brother, leading the assaults against him. Kind of fitting in line like what we got with the movie, right? And so,
for sure.
And so, it closes then with like Mera saying that like, okay, this is important to me too, since it's important for you as well. And so you just immediately get the relationship in between them. And so then, as we leave this scene, though, we do see that Black Manta is watching them from the distance. We then cut to Spindrift Station, where the Atlantean Dry Land Embassy in Massachusetts, where we then see Ray Delane from the Daily Planet, who he's just got there. He's waiting his interviews, have with like Aquaman, Mera, whoever. We then see Captain Sark and Lieutenant Stubbs. They're having like this conversation together. Stubbs is anxious over the two worlds meeting each other. Like, how are we really going to think of each other, right? Of this being, I guess, at least how the comics are presenting it, the first big time where they're really trying to get the two worlds to really have a linkage together, right? To have some sort of peace with each other, to try to feel comfortable with each other somewhat. And so, anyway, Stark's there. He's just like trying to reassure her, talks about how this place is meant to be that link between the land and the sea. And then Stark welcomes in Aquaman, who then just welcomes in everybody to the Atlantean embassy here. And that's where both Aquaman and Mera then introduce everyone to this place as a way to just bring everyone together, land and the sea being this meeting point, a learning point. And then we get to see a bunch of Atlantean food as it's time for dinner. And so that's where we then see like Ray's pointing
Yum,
out,
yum.
right, Ray's pointing out at the seafood. He's like, asking, is this shrimp? And then Stark reveals it's like this eloquay, aka sea slug, seasoned, sea spice, barnacle. Anyway, we see Ray try one, and then he just runs off as he's starting to feel sick. Mera then comes in, talks to Stubbs, personally greeting her, and just saying that she's glad she could make it. We then see Stark go off to go check on Ray, but then finds him that he's laying on the floor, looking unwell. But then Stark notices that there's a couple explosive charges planted on the wall. So Ray then leaps up, smashes Stark's head against the wall, throws him, and then just stabs him. While this is happening, it's revealed then that Ray's getting uncloaked, and that all along it was Black Mana. Black Mana then just sets off
Black
the charges.
Manta!
Right? Anyway, so yeah, Black Mana just sets off all these charges. The embassy starts flooding. Mera's there holding back the water so people can escape while Arthur goes to find Stark's body. Black Mana then comes from the water and then just attacks Mera. And then Aquaman leaps out in revenge. Aquaman and Black Mana then have this duel. Black Mana is then like referring to Aquaman's dark secret and saying that he's a killer, saying he's deluded. And then Black Mana just stabs Aquaman, saying the world is afraid of you. And he comes to end the fear, and he says that we see, and then we also see Aquaman's blood in his lenses as it's like to be continued here. So yeah, that's part one of the drowning. Lots of stuff going on here. What was your overall impressions of this issue?
Overall impressions, it's like a kind of cool just aftermath of whatever happened to the war with the land dwellers and the Atlanteans, and just kind of it's cool to see Aquaman just trying to become that superhero, like instead of like fighting for like something bad happens, Aquaman's going to be there to try to save the day. Here he's trying to rebuild a bridge through the station, the Spin Station. I'm not a fan of the name of the station. I'm sure if there's like a significance for the name Spin Rift, but it just doesn't sound inviting. Like, hey,
that's a good question.
Welcome. For improving relationships with Atlanteans and the land dwellers, let's go to Spin Rift, huh, guys? Spin Rift.
Right. I don't know anything about the name there, but I found that whole concept of trying to combine the land and the sea together to be an interesting point as far as how to introduce at least this new iteration of Aquaman, right? Because we're seeing this version of Aquaman that, the whole point of Rebirth is that it's not meant to set everyone back to their roots. It's meant to be everybody set a bit later, right? And so it was interesting to see it begin at this point of life of where Aquaman is then already ready to, he's already pretty experienced, and all the big events that's happened with people is already kept. And so I just found it really interesting where you have this idea of him onto this like new phase of life to be like, okay, I want to make myself feel better, and not just himself but the world, and trying to just unite it all in his own unique way.
Yeah.
So I found that whole idea very interesting.
And it kind of reminds me of, watching Black Panther, especially with T'Challa and how he wants to run things compared to his father, in building a relationship with the rest of the world instead of just being isolated from everyone else.
Right.
And it's all about building those bridges.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, this one, I think overall it was just a good setup. There's I do something that I thought was good that they did, and don't really want to get into it, but something that I don't feel like we'll ever really get on screen anytime soon is you get that good relationship between Aquaman and Mera right off of the bat. Uh,
Yeah.
those Mera is such a big character, Aquaman, and you see her be such an important side character in this, which is really important. And so I really like seeing that here. And I really like a lot of the visual
Oh,
style
just
with
being
the
there,
whole.
supportive.
Yeah. I really like the visual style of the embassy itself too. Like I just always find how those Atlantean buildings look, very neat looking.
Oh yeah, like a part of me is thinking like, huh, why have it on land? I guess like with instead of in the ocean, but I guess it's easier for the Atlanteans to show up on land compared to having the land dwellers create like a suit for them to go underwater. That would just cost too much money,
Right.
and just have it here, just visit it. It's more like a museum, whatever you want to call it, where
Yeah.
land dwellers can just walk in and just kind of see what the Atlanteans are all about.
Yeah. Shout out to it being in like
And then
Massachusetts as well.
Black Manta,
Black
Massachusetts.
Manta. I don't know. I was just gonna say that before we move on to Black Manta though. Like Massachusetts, it's like that's where like Aquaman grew up, and so I find it cool that he's like, hey, let's have the embassy here to where I know, like home. And so
Yeah, yeah.
especially like where he starts off with the issue as well with the lighthouse where he's at as well. And so I just found that a nice way as well. But yeah, Black Manta. What did you think of Black Manta here?
It's funny the first time you see him in this issue, it's just funny. He's like just stalking them with his binoculars. And I'm like, you creep! Just let Mera and Aquaman do their thing, and then
Right.
later, spy on them if you want.
Right.
Like just imagine if Mera and Aquaman's doing something else, doing the deed, and Black Manta just there, just like peeping, like hello.
That's funny.
Like where is he? Like he's just there chilling, like just across, and then
Yeah,
they're just chatting. So
that's funny.
I just thought that was funny how they framed it.
Yeah, that's funny.
Eh,
Especially when you put it that way. But like Aquaman's reveal though, that was very interesting. Yeah, very interesting way. That was a twist I wasn't expecting here. Uh, I will say, I do find it weird though, right? He's like uncloaking it, and he has like this normal head, and then the next thing you know, it's like
yeah,
Black Meta's helmet or something. They intentionally don't show that, but putting the
yeah,
pieces together, that's interesting. But yeah, you
yeah,
just
that cloaking technology.
very interesting. Uh,
And
but
poor what's his name? Mr. Delane, Mr. Delane.
right. It revealed that 1.2 that he was just like, what was he? Was he killed? I believe. Is that what it
Yeah,
said? That
he's
he was
dead.
killed?
Yeah.
Yeah,
According
dead.
to Black Manta, yeah.
According to Black Manta, he's just dead. Right, his body is in the trunk of his car. That's all he says. And so,
Yeah.
and then next thing you know, he just blows up, causes chaos, and then comes in and greatly injures Mera, and then stabs Aquaman after this nice little duel. I think this does its job overall to set up a first issue, right? You set up what Aquaman's wanting, and
Hmm.
then you immediately get the big bad of Aquaman, right? His Lex Luthor, his Joker in a way, right? To just come right in and just fight him here. Like I said, I think it's just a good introduction to this new era of Aquaman. It picks right up,
Hmm.
especially in that last third of the issue when Black Manta's plan starts coming all together.
Yeah. And I also like just the food, trying to get into the culture of Atlantis, uh,
Mhm.
just the sea slug, the Iroquois, and you're like at first, I wonder if the land dwellers like this. And then one of them, Mr. Delane was like, ugh, 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 he's gonna puke.
Who knew?
But then later on,
Who knew he could be such a good
you
actor?
find out Stubbs enjoyed it. I said, this is really good.
Right.
Yeah.
It has
So like now I want to try
it
that.
has nice little details in it.
Yeah.
So, but
And I don't know, like Black Manta, he's still. I'm not sure how fresh it is with the Aquaman with the father, the killing of the father. But I'm like, come on, Black Manta, let's move past this. Don't be like Batman. It's
I mean, that seems to be
just
Aquaman. Or no,
but
Black
vengeance,
Mana's right.
vengeance.
That's like Black Mana's whole thing, and I think that's really important for when we go into the next issue to talk about that. But
Yeah.
that's Black Mana's whole motivation is, he's wanting revenge, blaming Aquaman for what happened to his past of him killing his father. And so,
Mm-hmm.
but I thought this first one was just a good setup issue, overall. Do you have any other thoughts on it before we go on to this second one?
Stubbs saying crikey a lot. So I'm like,
Stubbs says,
I wonder if Australians say that a lot, like every time, because every panel you see Stubbs, it's like crikey, crikey,
That's funny.
crikey, crikey.
It's
Yeah.
funny.
And I
It's
think, I
funny.
don't know, and she's like a younger character too. Like, I'm not sure if the young
I'm
generation
not-
of Australians would say
I'm not
crikey.
I'm not familiar with her character. Yeah, no, I don't. I'm not sure much of her.
But yeah, if you're Australian, let us know if you say crikey, like especially in the younger generation or the older generation. I'm curious.
It's funny. Yeah, no, I don't know about this person at all.
And then I wonder if poor Sark trying to help people out and he gets stabbed by Black Manta. What a jerk.
Oh, okay. This issue was the first appearance of Lieutenant Stubbs, aka Joanna Stubbs. One of 7 appearances only in this Rebirth Aquaman run. So there you go. Fun fact
Of the Royal Navy.
of the Royal Navy. So
The Royal British Navy.
there you go. All right. Well, lots of good stuff there though. So yeah, I know for me though, definitely my highlight anytime when there's an Aquaman story and Black Man is in it. Black Man is almost always my highlight, and so I guess cool seeing him beat up Aquaman a little bit. You can definitely tell that he like caught Aquaman off guard, right? Aquaman was not ready for this big attack, and he's just left vulnerable there at the end. And I like that detail of that final little frame of just the blood on Black Mana's lenses. It's a nice touch.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't notice the blood on the lens.
Nice little touch. But yeah, anything else on issue 1?
Yeah, just crikey, crikey,
Crikey.
crikey, and crikey.
Crikey. But yeah, all right, let's go ahead and get into this next one then. Part 2 of this the drowning arc, where this immediately begins with this flashback where we see like this young Aquaman where he accidentally murders Black Mana's father. They then cut to the present where Black Mana's, where he's injured Aquaman, and then Black Mana, he then presses this button that then blows up the rest of the embassy building. Outside, we see Atlanteans just trying to help all the people get to safety. Back to Aquaman, we then see him talk to Mana about, he has this blind hate, and there's a cycle of them that just won't end until one of them kills the other. Aquaman then turns to Lieutenant Stubbs and asks her to get Mara to safety. He then pulls out the blade that is left in his chest, and then continues his fight with Mana. During this whole fight, they have all these back and forths going over the event, of Black Mana's father's the death of his Black Mana's father. Aquaman, was just saying like, he's young and foolish, but without that burden, he wouldn't have been Aquaman. Such a vital part of his origin. But Black Mana, he takes it in a way to where he thinks like Aquaman's proud of it, and so that's sort of like the big reason as to why Aquaman hates, or not Aquaman, to why Black Mana hates Aquaman so much. And so and just during this whole fight too, you like notice that Black Mana sort of like has the upper hand seemingly. You see Aquaman kneeling here at like the end of this, right before then it cuts back outside to where Mara is in the hands of the Atlanteans. Stubbs offers help, but is then just like brutally refused by that lead Atlantean guard that's trying to help everybody. But then back to Black Manta, we see that he's ready to end Aquaman. But Aquaman then retaliates with this like big swing with his trident. He cuts Black Manta, then smashes his helmet, and then that just leaves Black Manta vulnerable and has the trident in his neck. And then that, at this point, man is then telling Aquaman that, like, well, if he dies here, then Aquaman's legacy would be tarnished. But if if he's able to kill Aquaman, then he'd get the revenge that he's always wanted. So he's framing this whole scenario as a win-win situation for him, no matter what Aquaman does here, if he lives or dies, right? And so Aquaman then just cuts down lets down his trident and then offers it to him. He tells Manta to end him, but if he does that, then his life would have no meaning and only be left with disappointment. And since all his life was just built around killing Aquaman, that's the whole reason behind that. And so Black Manta then surrenders, right? Essentially Aquaman just does a 180 of like, okay, I see how you did this scenario to me. I'm going to do it on you now. And so now we cut forward in time a little bit. We see Black Manta being taken away. Mara makes the comment that, she wouldn't have let him live. Aquaman thanks Stubbs for her help. Mara then also reveals that, 8 died in this, and so that makes it a failure. Because, this is meant to be, a huge peace event to bring everybody together, right? And so, this is a big disaster here. It makes it a failure. And saying that it'll just confirms the surface people's fears because they've always had this, unease with the people of the sea. And then it ends here where we cut to Black Manta, where he sees that his prison escort is being intercepted, where then someone's offering to help rescue him and saying that they have mutual interests. And that's where this ends. The first big part of Rebirth Aquaman there. Having quite the big duel in between them. And like I said, shout out to that. All the art there too is really nice. Nice long duel, because that was almost all the issue. But
the speech. How do you feel about the speech? Would that convince you in not killing Aquaman? Kill me or not? What does it matter?
Right, there's a couple things here that I'm sort of unsure about, right? One of them is I don't know if first off, the way Black Manta does, he's just you come here and you'll be tarnished. I'm pretty sure a lot of people know, if they know Black Manta, they probably know, you think that they know that he's a bad guy, you know what I mean? And so,
yeah.
I don't know if Black Manta gave the best reasoning as to why he should not have died there. And then... But I did find the whole interesting thing of Aquaman essentially breaking down what Black Manta's character is to him. I did find that whole part interesting. I did like that. Because it's kind of Black Manta realizing his flaws there, being oh shit, he's right. Maybe I should try to figure out something in life, maybe, right? And so it's sort of this interesting sort of I guess maybe a midlife crisis sort of deal that Aquaman's all of a sudden bringing on the Black Manta here. He's oh wait, you're right. This is literally all my life so far.
Yeah.
But that sort of brings back to the point though, to where this issue opens. It opens with the flashback, and I'm not ultimately familiar with how this origin began, but I found it really interesting though that this opening though, you see it through a red lens, even though you don't see it directly from Black Manta's perspective. It's how Black Manta views this event, and I find that actually really neat here too. Is you see what looks like Aquaman being portrayed as a murderer here, as to how Black Manta sees this part of the story and not compared to like how it was originally told that we would have already seen somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so, nice touch there.
He has unleashed his vengeance on the killer's father.
Yeah.
And like that, Black Manta's like, no, Dad.
Right.
But he like, there's a part where Aquaman's like, hey, you, what is it? You're a bad guy. And Black Manta doesn't really say anything to defend himself.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have been a good time for Black Manta to say, what are you talking about? Like, I do what I have to do to survive.
Yeah. I definitely,
whatever reason, they need a reason.
I definitely think they could have expanded. It could have been expanded a little bit with Black Manta there in the way of like trying to make him be like, well, why would he be in this case? I don't know if this would be the best way to say that, but like the land dwellers, not a hero in a way, but like being the one to like, why would he be the one to tarnish it? Why does he sort of like more framed to be more of a good person that would end Aquaman, right? Like we obviously know he has this revenge of wanting to kill Aquaman, but we don't know why. I mean, maybe he does accept that of just being a bad guy, right? But
yeah,
I don't know.
But I'd rather have something else, like another layer, so that he's not just your traditional villain.
Yeah, well, I partially I feel like that's kind of the point of what these first two issues there are, though. I haven't read the Beyond this though, but I feel like that's kind of like the whole point of this is a layout to be like, okay, this is the Black Manta that everyone knows him as, but this is going to be the beginning of a deconstruction of his character to turn into something else later on. Is how I read that as, right? Because you see Aquaman literally break Black Manta like mentally about there, right? And being like, holy crap, that is like what I am.
It's like, I'm defeated and I'm just gonna rethink my life.
Right. And then Black Manta gets rescued later on, and so it's like, okay. It really feels like they're setting up something big there to carry on with. So we'll see.
Oh yeah. I've read further into it, and yeah, there's more ambition for Black Manta.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say that, like, I always find Black Manta always to be, like, the coolest person, though. Although I do think they do the characters, for what I know of them, well. I enjoyed Aquaman's character and the little bit of error we get. Like I said, they just do their roles. So I haven't read a lot of Aquaman, though, so overall, Aquaman's not something I'm familiar with. But I mean, I enjoyed these. I definitely
I'm on the same boat as you. Yeah.
I definitely continue reading more of this though. Like I enjoyed it enough to where I would keep on reading beyond it.
Yeah.
And
I think for me, like, I'm just curious to see where Black Manta goes with this. I think with Aquaman and Mera, their whole thing is the relationship between the land dwellers, and then like maybe it'll pique my interest with will the land dwellers ever like the Atlanteans, and will the U.S. government be like, you know what? Yeah, we're cool, you know. But Black Manta, I'm like, what is he up to?
I will say there is one detail I liked here, kind of relating to that, of where the first time we see those like Atlantean soldiers, right? They really have this feeling of they need to do their job, to get everybody's safety, because it's this, I have it pulled up right here. It just really sums it up really well, of where he says, I have no love for surface folk soldier, but if any of them die here today, it will be Atlantis that takes the blame. Get these people to safety.
Yeah.
And so, it's such a interesting way of like how it's all framed, because, with this whole embassy being on, in Massachusetts, I guess anything that be done here would be more on the blame of the Atlanteans. And so it's always really, I just find it an interesting way to have it all set up to continue with this whole dynamic between the two.
But if it's in Massachusetts, wouldn't the blame be on the U.S. government? Because they're supposed to take care of the embassy. It's like if it's a U.S. embassy in another country and that gets attacked, like,
I mean,
it's going to be people's going to start blaming the country. Like, hey, you're supposed to protect our embassy.
It wasn't really any U.S. soldiers there, as far as what I saw. So I don't know. I wonder if it's just because it's meant to be like more of an Atlantean project or something. Maybe the land
Uh,
people just really don't care as much. I don't know. It's a good question, though. That's a good question. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it though overall. I definitely think it was like a satisfying like first two issues to really kind of like wrap up the first big sort of like arc in this. You really got to see the
mm,
full duel of Aquaman and Black Manta just come together to really feel like a complete story. Because if I feel like if we would have just talked about the first issue, it would have been like, well, yeah, it's your typical sort of cliffhanger of like, okay, what's gonna happen next? Of just
yeah.
seeing Aquaman in a vulnerable moment, and so um, I don't know. It was a nice first two issues to really get the story going, and
Hmm.
like I said, I'm definitely interested in reading more sometime. I'll add it to my very long list of other things I want to read. So
Oh yeah, yeah. You and your collections. So
me and my collections,
it's a lot.
it's a lot. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
And
yeah,
then yeah, the drowning. Yeah, some people died,
some
and
people
they blame it on the Atlanteans. I'm like, come on, guys.
die. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where it continues from this, for sure. Uh, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be really interesting to also see like I said, just more Black Manta. I'm also really looking forward. I'll say this now: the one thing I'm really looking forward to when the movie is Black Manta. If it wasn't Black Manta looking cool in the trailers, I don't know if I'd have that much interest in the new Aquaman movie. And so,
Uh huh. Wait. What do you mean, like looking cool compared to not looking cool?
I mean, Black Manta is just I'm just saying that if Black Manta wasn't the main focus, like villain focus of the next movie, I wouldn't be as interested in it.
Yeah.
He,
Yeah. I
he looks
wonder
interesting.
if he's gonna be like the main focus, or there's like a bigger threat that's the underlying threat that's gonna take over, especially with the whole uh like the Black Trident and all that. If there's like another force that we don't know about, but
Yeah,
I think it would be cool if they try to focus just on Black Manta, just like for the third act, just the relationship between him and Arthur, and just really dive deep into that, and also Orm too, because they're trying to focus on
Orm here as well.
Orm
Yeah,
just trying to become a kind of big better person, or I'm not sure if they're going to try to do that, but him helping out Arthur. So
right.
that's gonna be like a fun adventure,
Yeah, I mean,
especially
I hope
he
it's a fun watch.
when it's free.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just there for Black Manta though. I'll be honest. I just want Black Manta. I just want to see Black Manta
Yeah,
on screen because I think he's like
yeah.
he's such a cool looking villain,
Uh-huh.
and so I just
Oh
like
yeah, no,
Black
he's a
Manta.
cool. He's like, he's like the Boba Fett and all that.
I guess that's why he stands out to me because I like me some Boba Fett, and so. But
I'm excited. Like I'm excited to see that, but I also want to see just Patrick Wilson. He's like a great actor, and we get him in the first movie where he's the antagonist, so he's fighting against Arthur. But now we're gonna
right,
get to see him working together, and like this kind of like brotherly adventure. Like yeah, they
right,
hate each other, but then they got the work out together. And maybe in the end, there's gonna be some
maybe
understanding with each other. So
we'll see. We'll
yeah.
see. We'll see. I hope it's good. Um, I definitely have some concerns about it going into it, but I don't know. I'm hoping it's okay. So we'll see.
What concerns? What concerns?
I've just heard not great things about it, so we'll see. We'll
Uh-huh.
see how it
Like
turns out,
the
though.
yeah, yeah. I'm still hopeful
Mm-hmm.
because whatever it is that people say, like oh blah blah blah, but like sometimes my opinion is gonna be different. So
Sure. Yeah.
I'm gonna enjoy things a lot more. But then sometimes, yeah, it depends on the movie, depends on the series, depends on the project. You never know.
Just give me some cool Black Manta action scenes, and that'll fulfill my low
Mhm.
expectations. But here's the thing, though. Last movie I went into with very low expectations, I ended up enjoying it, and that was the Marvels. And so
Yeah.
you know, it's always better to set yourself up down low than I think it's always better to set yourself down lower than it is up higher. So,
Oh yeah, for sure.
but
It's sometimes so down low, and you're like, it's so bad.
yeah. It's what I expected. But anyway, yeah. That's Aquaman. Does any other thoughts you sort of like have on this overall? Anything
For
else?
this, just I like that they're trying to paint like the Atlanteans like just really good and trying to help out, but then there are
Oh,
also outliers of other Atlanteans that don't really care about the land dwellers. So it's
Yeah.
like humans are complicated, and not everyone's going to be on the same side.
It's a really nice dynamic that they have built up here. That's I think is really interesting, and I think it'll be one of the things to really keep it's one of the things that would keep me wanting to read more of this, just to see where is this going to go, right? Especially dealing with the fallout of this event that just happened, right? Seeing, well, how is Aquaman then gonna? What repercussions does this have on Aquaman? You know, since this was his big thing that he was working on, then be a failure, and so it'll be interesting to see what comes of this.
Yeah.
So
You have failed me for the last time.
But yeah, no, like I said, I enjoyed these first two issues, and I'd definitely read more sometime.
Yeah, it's definitely an easy read.
That's for sure. They went by very quick reads indeed. But yeah. Any other closing thoughts?
Spindrift. Let's change the name of that station.
Spindrift.
That's probably why Black Manta attacked it. It's like Spindrift. I don't like the name. We got to change it to something else.
Spindrift. I
yeah.
don't know but it's okay. It's just a name though. Cool like a building though, but yeah.
Yeah. Hey, man, sometimes a name is, like if you hear something like I want to go there. Like what is it? Disneyland has a cool name. Like people want to go to Disneyland. Or what else?
Let's go to Spindrift
what's another
Land,
cool
everybody.
attraction that just invites people to go?
Let's just go to Spindrift Land.
Yeah.
It's terrible. I'm sorry, everybody. That's bad.
Well, I'm pretty sure there's like a name why it's used as Spindrift, and we'll be like, oh, okay, now I feel bad.
It's funny. Yeah. I mean, I don't know anything about that. It was just a name. It didn't bother me that much. But
Waterworld. See, that's a cool name. That's very inviting.
Isn't that already the name of something though?
Makes me want to go and watch Kevin Costner as Kevin Costner as the fish man.
There you go.
Half human, half mutant.
All right. Yeah, that I feel like we pretty much covered everything here. I don't think there's anything else to really talk about here. Like I said, seems like we gave pretty overall positive thoughts on this though. I definitely enjoyed the whole dynamic in between Black Manta, Aquaman here, and everything. And like we said, land dwellers, sea dwellers, just sort of seeing those two aspects clash together is also interesting. And so, good read overall. And where can the people go find you at, John?
I am nerdreactor.com on YouTube, on TikTok, social media.
There you go. Go follow him. He does all sorts of awesome stuff. Gets to do all sorts of cool things. You do a lot of cool stuff. So go check out Nerd Reactor. And come back here to the Dingus Den. See you all next time. See ya. Thank you for watching this video. Before you go, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this video. See you next time here on the Dingus Den.